thank you for joining us on Nationwide. I am Lami Ali. You can follow this news broadcast live on our website, nca.ng/live, and on YouTube channel, NCA News Online. You can also visit our Twitter handle at NCA News Now, Facebook page, NCA Network News, and Instagram, NCA Network for updates. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari is back in Abuja after a successful outing as the United Nations Environment Assembly in Nairobi, Kenya. The president was received on arrival at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport by the Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of Finance and Administration, Sanusi Lemu, Director General, Department of State Services, Yusuf Magaji Bichi, and other senior government officials. During the visit, President Buhari delivered Nigeria's statements at the 50th anniversary of the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP. The Minister of State for Environment, Sharon Ikazo, speaks on the major takeaways from the hybrid event. Details will come to you in subsequent bulletin. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari, while in Nairobi, Kenya, said his administration will remain steadfast in defending the interests of Nigerians wherever they may be, even as the nation begins the evacuation of citizens stranded in Ukraine. President Buhari was speaking at a town hall meeting with a group of Nigeria's presidents in the East African country. Details of this report will come your way in subsequent bulletin. Now, the first batch of 415 Nigerians based in Ukraine have arrived in Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, at 6:52 a.m. Friday through Romania. The evacuation, which was conducted by the federal government, began on Thursday, with hundreds of returnees already in Abuja going through COVID-19 tests. The sum of $100 has been provided by the federal government to be given to each of the returnees upon arrival. The Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Zubairu Dada, said countries where the pickup flights will be headed includes Poland, Hungary, Slovakia, and Romania. 2 flights from Air Peace and 1 from Max Air are expected to carry out the evacuation exercise. Still on the Ukraine matter, more Nigerian students who fled to Poland are willing to be evacuated to Nigeria. Speaking exclusively on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria, head of evacuation delegation from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Bolaji Akinremi, says the Nigeria's ambassador in Poland, Christian Ugu, is already making arrangements to facilitate evacuation of the additional number of students. Lydia Sampson reports.
Appealing to the government to as much as possible to provide more to take us all. As I said, 180 people today here in Hungary are going back to Nigeria.
Shaibu Mohammed pleading with Nigerian government to intensify effort to evacuate Nigerian students stranded in Ukraine. Shaibu Mohammed is a fifth-year medical student in Ukraine. Speaking on Good Morning Nigeria, Shaibu shared how he managed to escape to Nigerian embassy in Hungary. On the other hand, Aisha Ango, a first-level medical student in Ukraine, is undecided about returning to Ukraine after safely being evacuated.
We reached the border in the night, very late, was already dark. And by the border place, there were a lot of people there. Some people have been there for 2 days, 3 days, and the soldiers there were being racist to black or non-Ukrainians. They were not allowing us to pass the border. They kept pushing us. They were even firing their bullets in the air.
Over 200 Nigerians, mostly students, are expected back in the country this Friday. Ambassador Bolaji Akinremi shared his perspective on Good Morning Nigeria shortly before boarding at Warsaw Airport in Poland.
So the numbers have greatly increased. So bigger planes are being arranged now. What we are planning for 180 for the first batch in Poland has now proven not been enough.
On his part, Matthew Omali condemned the discrimination of Africans and called for a review of the UN veto power.
I saw the picture before the war started, and I saw the picture by day 3, how the whole of that place was leveled. And the level of devastation is awesome. I foresee that already. I am aware that the Ukrainians have already filed a petition against Russia at the ICC for war crimes.
Reports indicate that the first barge of Nigerians to be evacuated from Romania arrived the country Friday morning. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Now, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has reminded regulatory agencies of their role as supporters of business operators and not the opposite, describing business owners as key pillars that are holding the nation's economy. The Vice President notes that a good business environment is needed for their growth and survival. This was when the Vice President met with the inaugural cohorts of the Africa Initiative Governance Public Leadership Program. State House correspondent Judy Onifadi reports.
Point is that we want the regulator to understand that you are a facilitator, you are a business facilitator. If you are not facilitating business, if you are not making it easier for people to do business, then we have a problem.
There is certainly a problem with some officials of the regulatory authorities creating bottlenecks and making the environment hostile to business operators. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says this must not be the case. The reason, he says, government introduced the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Clinic aimed towards assisting business to grow.
And our people are very enterprising. They want to do business. And so we ought to be able to support that. So performance must be determined by fidelity to the ultimate values that we pursue. What we want is an economy that is robust and prosperous. The only way by which we should be able to judge the performance of regulatory agencies is how are you faithful to those values.
The Vice President refers to entrepreneurs as the real job creators and calls on the cohorts of the Public Leaders Program to take the lead in championing the reform in their various offices.
Great things happen when connections reinforce and reinforce and reinforce. So, Your Excellency, whilst they thought they were coming to greet and brief you, they didn't realize that they were coming to the source of that which they are enjoying today.
Skills and knowledge we have received from University of Oxford, and to tell him that we are ready to work as agents of change in the public sector. And for me and for my capstone project, I've already started working on how to leverage on ICT so as to overcome our technical challenge in my organization, Nigerian Television Authority, which is the African largest television network, so that we can be able to reach the unreached across the globe.
From the banquet hall of the State House, Judy Onifade, NTA News.
And from the National Assembly comes the report that Senate is set to rest jurisdictional conflict between the Bureau of Public Enterprises and Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission as it holds public hearing on a bill to repeal ICRC Act and enact the Public-Private Partnership Regulatory Commission Act. National Assembly correspondent Dayo Gunshala reports.
The bill being subjected to public scrutiny is for a legislation to provide enabling environment for private interventions in infrastructure development. Senate believes that the private sector has roles to play in bridging the infrastructural gap in the country.
The bill is also designed to efficiently position the agency in regulating the participation of the public and private sectors.
It is meant to attract private and public financial resources for investment to improve social and economic services relevant to the national development.
Key players in infrastructural regulatory agencies expressed optimism that with the legislation, jurisdictional overlaps between the ICRC and the Bureau of Public Enterprises will be addressed.
It's now pure dichotomy. What is the function of BPE? The regulatory overview or sphere of influence of ICRC has well been captured.
To bring to an end the crisis we've always had as parastatals of government who are into investments, between which authority to go to.
And we think that this bill is in a strong position to
make the proposed PPP Regulatory Commission a more dynamic organization, and also it's able to regulate the PP environment in a more comprehensive manner.
If passed, the bill will further position Nigeria as investment-friendly country for the private sector. From the National Assembly, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA News.
Now, critical national issues, including the 2023 general election, topped the agenda as the 42nd annual general meeting of the Alumni Association of the National Institute, which includes those who attended courses as the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS. Correspondent Naja'atu Tijani reports.
Repositioning the association for greater effectiveness is also part of issues to be discussed at the forthcoming AGM, scheduled to commence on 4th March 2022.
Strategic recommendations and implementation strategies to government. We have done that and we shall continue to do that. You know, government is all is ongoing. It's not just one government. It's not just the only government we're advising. At any time there's a government in place, we do the needful, and we shall continue to do the needful.
Concerned about social tension in recent times, the group wants to also promote peace through a national dialogue on unity, security and welfare, especially as the 2023 general election approaches. Calling on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to ensure credible elections come 2023, the association says it will also convene a stakeholder meeting ahead of the 2023 election to sensitize politicians and the electorate on issues of national interest. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
President Muhammad Idris Deby Itno of the Chad is asking for more collaboration with the OIC and its member states to further support the countries of the region in combating terrorism, extremism and deepen security, peace and stability in the Sahel as well as the Chad Basin. This was at the Presidential Palace in Jamena, when he received the Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, Mr. Hussein Ibrahim, during a visit to the country. The Secretary General outlined the role Chad is playing in maintaining stability and commended the country on its efforts to enhance security and developments, especially in Mali and other neighboring countries. The Secretary General was accompanied by the Assistant Secretary General of the OIC for Science and Technology, Ambassador Askar Musinov, and Ambassador Bubakar Adamu, Director of the African Affairs of the OIC. We earlier told you that President Muhammadu Buhari, while in Nairobi, Kenya, said his administration will remain steadfast in defending the interests of Nigerians wherever they may be, even as the nation begins the evacuation of citizens stranded in Ukraine.